right, good morning. Karibu sana. It is the 21st of April 2026, a big date today. The hashtag reject fuel prices is trending. Yes. Whether or not people will make it back to the streets today, we still do not know. Tuko hapa to anticipate, and that's what we do. This is a TV47 breakfast. My name is Freddie Ndimuli. Karibu sana.
My name is Anne Odida. So good to have you this morning. Join us on the show, TV47 Breakfast. We have a lot lined up for you. It's a packed show kama kawaida hapa. And of course, you're going to keep an eye on that anticipated go-slow with regard to the high fuel prices. Lakini sijui kama kweli itakuwepo. Manake hata hiyo hashtag mimi sijapatana nayo. And I was asking kina Jamo if at all it will be there. Naona Ian ameshtuka ati nimeanza kuwataja, but they're actually very, wananiuliza how is fuel connected na sisi na watu ambao inaitangaje watu wanatembea kwa miguu, Futsubishi. Watu wa Futsubishi wanasikiaje uchungu ya fuel.
All right. And then again, whether or not there will be protests, we'll be definitely talking about this fuel crisis here on the show with a member of the Senate's Energy Committee, that's Senator Danson Mungatana. We'll also be having the chairperson of the Petroleum Marketers Association in Kenya, as well as chairperson of the Forward Travelers. Kama fare imeongezeka, mtuambie. Niliona mahali someone was complaining that anytime fuel prices go up, the matatus and the long-distance buses, they increase the fare.
Yes.
When the fuel prices go down, they do not do the same.
Yes. Na walisema watapunguza.
Inaendelea tu ikipanda, alafu haiwezi shuka, inapanda tu inapanda.
Yeah.
Right now I see from the CBD to Kiambu is about 120 shillings. It used to be 70 bob, got to 100 bob. Now watu wanalipa 120.
Moms alisema ni 30 bob.
Siku gani? Anapanda gari gani?
Last week actually he told us he usually uses 30 shillings. Now that day from
the
town,
city center,
from town to here.
Okay. Now I'm talking about Kiambu.
Oh, Kiambu.
Yes.
Okay. But sisi tuko Kiambu pia anyway.
So talk to us through our various social media channels. Nilisikia ingine ukisema, where are we streaming actually?
TV47 Kenya on Facebook, Matukio Halisi on YouTube, TV47 Digital on X. The hashtag to use is TV47 Breakfast, hashtag Story ni yetu. It's also World Creativity and Innovation Day. So how to celebrate World Creativity and Innovation Day, generate ideas that solve problems, look at the world differently, and meet with different people. That's a day celebrated every year on the 21st day of April. Let's take a look at the state of the weather. All right, Kiambu, light rains expected today. Is actually raining this morning on Kiambu side. This morning is 15 degrees, highs of 23 degrees expected today. It's a cloudy day in Kisumu. This morning is 18 degrees, highs of 27 degrees expected. Nairobi, light rains expected today, and this 16 degrees this morning, highs of 24 degrees expected today. That's as far as Kiambu, Kisumu, and Nairobi counties are concerned. Kajiado, it's also a mostly cloudy day today, highs of 24 degrees, and this morning it's 16 degrees. Kakamega, it's raining, scattered thunderstorms, highs of 27 degrees today. This morning is 16 degrees, and once again, Nairobi, it's a rainy day. This morning is 16 degrees, highs of 24 degrees expected today, and that's the state of the weather.
Umenyeshewa leo? Umenyeshewa leo?
Siwezi.
Unaletwa na helicopter mpaka hapa. Kafadhali kama nyinyi. Mimi nimenyeshewa kidogo.
But I can't relate.
Oh, you can't relate to that?
I can't.
Yes, it's raining this side. And I think even within the CBD, it has rained today. So mvua imenyesha upande huu wa nchi.
All right, let's take a look at the quote of the day.
If nothing breaks you, nothing builds you. Growth isn't found in flawless days, it's earned in the cracks, scars, and comebacks.
If nothing breaks you, nothing makes you.
Nothing builds you.
Nothing builds you.
Yes.
You have to be broken first. So if you're yet to be broken, anticipate the breaking up.
It must happen. Character development is part of the process.
Kuna wimbo ilikuwa nasema ni bomoe alafu ndio unifinyange. No, it's actually a gospel song. Acha kudismiss hivyo, acha maneno yako.
I've actually heard about it, but how? Ni bomoe ndio unifinyange.
No. For clay to be molded into something new, you have to remold it, break it down, crush it, put some water, then remold it into something fresh.
Wewe wacha wewe na huyo musician wako. Let's come back and take a look at the stories making headlines.
Yes, if at all you are anticipating any demonstrations anywhere, the dailies today do not show any of that. If you look at, there's some politics on the front page of the Standard, something else on the front page of the Daily Nation, Talanta Stadium on the front page of the Star as well. And even the Business Daily talks about jobless graduates, but no mention of any anticipated protests anywhere. Yeah. So let's start off with the Standard today. Battle lines drawn. And it's about politics between ODM and UDA. ODM has escalated its 2027 political positioning, rejecting zoning arrangements and vowing to field candidates from the presidency to the ward level, a declaration that intensifies its contest with UDA while exposing deep fault lines within the party over its relationship with President William Ruto, its participation in the broad-based government, and who ultimately controls its electoral strategy going into the next general election. That story is on page 4. Yesterday, the dailies, at least one of them, was talking about how it is President William Ruto who is apparently behind all these apparent divisions in the ODM party and elsewhere. Yes, it's not a new accusation against the president. He's been accused of doing so the same to the Jubilee Party, of which he was the deputy party leader. Hata sasa imesemekana yeye tu ndio anafanya mambo hivyo hivyo kwenye ODM. But what do you think? Anyway, that's the front page of the Standard. The page 2 talks about the PS for Foreign Affairs, anaitwa Sing'oei. Foreign Affairs PS Korir Sing'oei. Hapa anaitwa tactless diplomat. Okay, they're asking a question, not naming him as such. So in the growing tensions, gaffes at the foreign ministry, apparently some ambassadors have accused the PS of being dismissive and disrespectful. But on page 2, there's a very interesting story, and this one I think should matter to many artists. Mwala, and you know Mwala, has sued Winja and the Coca-Cola company in a copyright dispute. Apparently walisema ati anakunywa kale kasoda kadogo kakaitwa Kamwala. Kasema they have no right to use that name. That name belongs to him. He has actually applied for copyright, and that copyright only expires in 2030. So anyone who uses that name in any of their productions without permission is liable to pay. Chunga sana kutumia watu wengine. Kuna mwingine nasikia analipa 50,000 huko alitumia jina ya mtu mwingine mahali. Hata kutumia tu sura. You see content creators and everyone now is becoming an influencer of some sort. Alafu tu mimi nimepita hapo nyuma as you take your videos and then you use my image. Alafu unaenda kumarket kitu na kuja na kutafuta na kupeleka kotini, utalipa pesa, and people are becoming rich just like that. That story is on page 2. Si ati ni panganga naongea. Yes. Masuala ya zoning na ODM kule ndani. Gaucho. Watu wameongea sana, but I don't know, Anne, if you identify with this. Why are people really complaining that Gaucho has been named as a member of the board of the Mama Lucy Kibaki Hospital? What is such a big deal? He is a Kenyan. Isn't he supposed to take part in running some of these public facilities? If you are named to a board, do you think it will be justified?
I think the grounds to that actually matter, because the conversations that I've seen online is that he is in hospitals doing things that he's not supposed to do. I don't know how true that is, but that newspaper is reporting that he's part of the board and not actually somebody who is giving treatments to patients.
He's not a doctor. He's a member of a board. He's not the one running the show.
Yes. Yeah. Now that is why Kenyans are rattled, because they think Labda
it should be
mtu
doctors.
ako hosi anatibu wagonjwa na hana
But hiyo ni kukosa kuelewa surely. A member of a board surely is not the executive director, is not the one running the hospital. He's just sitting in a board. Na anakuja anasema hapana, hiyo decision mulimake na sioni kama ni mzuri.
Sasa communication ndio shida kwa Wakenya.
Hapana, Kenyans wanaelewa hii maneno. Ni vile tu ni gaucho. Anyway, that story is there on page 6 of this paper. It's quite heavy. On the back page, Matters Athletics. It's a Kenyan double as Korir and Lokedi rule the Boston Marathon. Hapa pesa mingi pia. Speaking of money, Korir earned 19.3 million for his win and a 6.4 million shilling bonus for breaking the course record. Lokedi emulated Korir in the women's elite event. Congratulations to these athletes who've made Kenya proud and definitely etched their names in the annals of history as well. That's the Standard this morning.
Daily Nation, why UN fears for this Kenyan's life, and the Kenyan is on the front page of the Daily Nation this morning. Reprisals, they say that Clement Muiruri Kamau, a human rights activist, has been documenting alleged atrocities committed at the vast Del Monte pineapple plantation in Thika and has reported persistent persecution. His case has drawn the attention of Ms. Mary Lawlor, the UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights Defenders, who has petitioned the Kenyan government. This story has been captured on page 4 and 5, just to show the seriousness it deserves, that Kenya has ignored the diplomats' letters on abductions and police killings. Wow. And she's quoted here, she says, similar letters addressing these issues are sent to the government of the United States of America and the president of the company, Del Monte Foods. So apparently anatuma letters to address abductions and police killings and other atrocities zenye zina happen to Kenyans. But Kenyans, we don't respond to these things. Tunajifanya ni kama hatumpati vizuri. This story says that a special rapporteur has expressed frustration over failure by the Kenyan government and Del Monte to respond to her letters raising concerns over Mr. Kamau's safety. I just want us to read kidogo so that we can have a look at what happened with this Del Monte thing, that a grueling search for 4 men who had gone missing days earlier in the area around the 22,000-acre pineapple plantation owned by Del Monte in Thika ended tragically on Christmas Day of 2023. So this dates back to 2023, that their bodies were found in Chania River on the night of December 24th and 25th, that a grim discovery that horrified the search party, which included relatives of the men and local activists. So among those in the existing search team that had sacrificed the merrymaking typical of the season in the hope of finding the missing men was Mr. Clement Muiruri Kamau, who the UN rapporteur says he fears for his life. This story is on page 4 and 5. You can grab a copy of it. Gachagua ratchets up pressure on fuel protest. Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua yesterday warned President William Ruto to brace for street protests if the government does not implement measures to further reduce the fuel prices. He claimed the prices can be reduced by half if profiteers are eliminated from the supply chain. That's another story on page 6. Yesterday we were talking to some of the youth, wakituambia tu what they think of these protests, and that of the opinion, he is rather of the opinion that, you know, politicians are using this to their gain or for their gain. So hatujui kama kutakuwa na protest za fuel, is it that Kenyans want to actually protest that fuel prices are high, ama ni because politicians are telling them to go to the streets? So that as well. How Iran war has hit tea industry. Kenya's tea industry is facing mounting pressure from the Middle East conflict, with rising fuel costs set to escalate operational expenses for factories and shipping disruption blocking tea worth billions of shillings from exports. We are a tea exporting country, so we are affected by the Iran war as well. So mixed fortunes for Kenya police mission in Haiti. That's another story on page 8. That a recent UN report accused Kenyan police officers serving in a Security Council authorized mission in Haiti of involvement in sexual abuse. But in a vote of confidence, a leaked and dated video circulating online appears to show Haitians erecting barricades to prevent the Kenyan contingent from leaving the war-torn nation, a rare show of support for a foreign force. That's another story on page 8. There's a story here on page 2 of the Daily Nation that says inside the silent transfer of power when MPs fall sick, that the Constitution and parliamentary standing orders are silent on clear procedures for temporary replacement of incapacitated MPs, unlike governors or the president, whose offices have defined succession frameworks. Members of parliament retain their seats unless they resign, are recalled, or are declared incapacitated under strict legal thresholds. That's another interesting read on page 2. Inside the silent transfer of power when MPs fall sick. So this story is talking about Kwanza MP, Ferdinand Wanyonyi, who is currently recuperating in India, that the Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, appointed somebody else, that is Kiminini MP, Kakai Bisau, to oversee Kwanza constituency matters in absence of Ferdinand Wanyonyi.
Question is, do the people of that constituency, Kwanza, know that Kakai Bisau is supposed to be representing them right now, or taking charge, or even helping out their MP who's been unwell for more than a month and away from office, so they can't access their MP. But now, if at all it's even a friendly agreement that Kakai Bisau takes over the role of MP for Kwanza, do the constituents know?
Speaker alisema. Speaker alishasema sasa. Now you're on the know.
Now you know.
Now you know. On the back page of the Daily Nation, falling tray for cricket, Kenya's new boss Gohil. Cricket is back, and lawyer Omamo takes over as vice chair of the local federation. Cricket Kenya has been bedeviled by poor management and threat of ban from global body.
All right.
That's the Daily Nation.
From the Daily Nation, we take a look at the Star, which today, being a Tuesday, is not for sale. And on the front page, they talk about this iconic stadium, Talanta Stadium. They say billions, deadlines, and dreams. Kenya's AFCON Stadium rush. Iconic stadium nears completion with round-the-clock works. Now, everybody has been talking about this stadium. Stadium ni safi lakini. Anyway. So this is, no, let me not go there because I run the risk of sounding political. I'm not. I'm very apolitical. So this is a Talanta Stadium they're talking about. And you remember the debate about whether or not we'll be ready for the AFCON tournament, to host the AFCON tournament next year, 2027, alongside Uganda and Tanzania. And of course, everyone is looking forward to having Talanta Stadium ready before then. You can read more on this in the inside pages 4 and 5 of the Star. From Great Wall to Green Goals, Mudahir's journey of purpose is another story on page 11. And pain as households, businesses hit by high prices of cooking gas. Now, that is one of the byproducts that comes with this issue of petroleum. Once petroleum prices go up, even gas prices go up. Everything just goes up. So usifikirie tu ni mambo na gari na bus fare, hata cooking gas inapanda. So there's pain for households. Hata kama haijakufikia ipo njiani, inapiga
press ups. Tamakis.
Matters politics pale juu, which way ODM, internal rifts, UDA clashes, test party. And interestingly, President William Ruto has steered clear of this debate at sijui zoning nini amenyamaza. Anaacha tu watu wapige kelele. Kama shapita na hiyo chama ishaenda. Senate 6 ESCC probers counties fail to account for billions, matters devolution and accountability of governors on page 6 of this paper. On the back page, Task ambitious, that's the local football league, and rugby union also. Clubs have been given 45 days to meet registrar rules ahead of polls. Being a Tuesday, this paper comes with a MyGov pullout for government tenders and job opportunities. Hata ukiwa na 60 shillings usitoe, hii ya leo ni ya bure. Grab yourself a free copy of the Star, fresh, independent, different.
Taifa Leo, Kindiki njia ya Ruto mlimani, ni swali wanauliza katika ukurasa wa mbele ya gazeti hili. Kikosi cha Ruto kimebuni mbinu mbalimbali za kujaribu kuimarisha ufuasi wake mwaka ujao Mlima Kenya, eneo linaloegemea upande wa Gachagua, ili rais naye amuunge Kindiki mwaka 2032. Anasema kwamba wandani wa Ruto eneo la Mlima Kenya wahimiza wakazi wampigie rais kura mwaka ujao, naye arudishie kiti mwaka 2032. Interesting. Now ile siasa ya ng'ombe nusu inaelekea wapi? Vidokezo zaidi, damu freshi yatishia vigogo mwaka 2027. Ndindi Nyoro na Sifuna ni kati ya viongozi vijana waliomwiba kwa vigogo wa kongwe. Hofu Amerika na Iran zikitoa vitisho tena. Iran yasema haitafanya mazungumzo zaidi na Amerika baada ya kutoa meli yake baharini. Ni habari katika ukurasa wa 8. Tanzania, Uganda na Ethiopia soko la pikipiki za wizi. Tulizungumzia hili katika gazeti la Mwananchi na The Citizen jana. Yabainika pikipiki nyingi zinazoibwa Kenya ukarabatiwa na kuuzwa katika mataifa jirani. Oh wow. Interesting. Kule juu, ODM yaahidi uteuzi huru kura za mwaka 2027. Oburu akihutubia kongamano la vijana wa chama asema hakuna mapendeleo. That there will be fair party primaries there. Na watoto wakataza Jagini Luis Figo kutumia mama yao. Acha nirudie tena. Watoto wakataza Jagina Luis Figo kutumia mama yao. Taifa Leo imesema kwa udaku kuhusu wanaspoti, matukio pamoja na habari za michezo. Soma Mwanaspoti katika ukurasa wa 13 wa gazeti hili Taifa Leo.
Right, from Taifa Leo tuangazie gazeti la The People Daily. People Daily on the front page, rising impunity under Ruto's leadership. They say 2027 political contest sparks debate over neutrality of state officers. If we may take a look at that story, which is on page 4 of this paper, People Daily, they talk about blatant disregard to the Constitution exposes the leaders and those close to power for abuse that runs across other sectors of nation's social fabric. With the 2027 general election drawing closer by the day, various camps across the political divide are employing a range of chess-like tactics as they strive to pull even smarter maneuvers at gaining strategic advantages. So they talk about how many people belong to parties and they're running their own parties and they still occupy various state offices. Like Speaker of the National Assembly, still party leader Ford Kenya. Yeah. Argument is still out there on whether or not that is proper. Senate facing the same thing. Senate Speaker Mason Jeffa Kingi is still the party leader for PAR. We have Chap Chap, which is run by Cabinet Secretary for Labour and Social Protection, Dr. Alfred Mutua. And they call this, according to this paper, impunity, that these state officers should not be actively running political parties. They may be involved in politics to some extent, but do not run political parties. That is an argument that is divided. Some people believe they should be allowed to run political offices. After all, they got to these places, to these spaces through politics. Why are we looking at them in a different eye now that they're there? So that's the main story. You can read more on it on page 4 of the People Daily. Other stories here, ripe for power, the race for Kenya's first female deputy president. And of course, there are 2 women who've been touted for this position. Whether or not they stand to be a running mate or even a deputy president, after all, we do not know. One of them is governor for Homa Bay, Gladys Wanga. The other one is governor for Kirinyaga, naitwa Anne Waiguru. Yes, ripe for power, they say. The Commission for University Education on the spot as MPs question 43 million shilling system and staff promotions. That's the other story on the front page of the People Daily. Wanaita People and Politics leo.
Finally, Business Daily, broke and jobless graduates and 90 billion shillings help default. Now they're saying kuna kazi, watu wana graduate, they're defaulting on help loans they cannot pay back because of course hakuna kazi. So data from the Auditor General shows that 281,459 former students who graduated after 2000 have defaulted on 39 billion shillings, or 44% of helps, 89 billion shillings, bad student loans. So this one is definitely affecting students who, the freshmen and of course continuing students, they cannot access help because a lot of people have also defaulted on this because hakuna kazi. So there's 2 ways to this. We cannot really blame the defaulters because how will they pay them?
The deal has always been, once you get a job, then you start making payments.
Yes.
So kama una kazi unalipa kutoka
kuna kazi, and most of these graduates are informal sector, so
now that's the problem. Many people get into the informal sector. You see, sometimes we dismiss players in the informal sector thinking that they're not making money. Some of them make a lot more money than people in formal employment.
They're actually running the economy.
So they should actually be paying the HELB loans so that other students can benefit from the same.
Yeah.
Wacha kujificha hapo kama unapata pesa bwana. Wacha hiyo maneno.
Kenya eyes rent from embassies in Africa. That's another story captured on page 4 of this newspaper. Congolese march in Nairobi. They took part in a peaceful march in Nairobi yesterday to call for urgent international intervention over an ongoing blockade and humanitarian crisis in Minembwe in Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo. On the ticker, manufacturers most pessimistic about growth on Iran shocks, and Treasury cuts net external borrowing by 61.6 billion shillings, and that's the Business Daily. All
right. Now let's cross over and take a look at what's big news in our neighboring countries. We'll start off in Uganda, and the Daily Monitor is something that is also very familiar in the Kenyan situation. I'm sure you have a relative or a friend from back huko nyumbani ushago. Mwenye akitaka pesa anakuambia usitume kwa hii namba. Usitume kwa hii namba. Tuma kwa hii. Acha ndakutumia ile namba utatuma hiyo pesa. So the headline on the front page of the Daily Monitor in Uganda this morning is, "Don't send on this number." Usitume kwa hii namba. So Ugandans apparently are increasingly diverting mobile money transactions to other lines or initiating withdrawals directly from accounts of senders in order to evade or defer payment of loans picked from telecoms and other online creditors to fix quick liquidity needs. So kama uko na Fuliza na unajua ukiweka pesa hapo wanasema utafionza. So unasema usinitumie kwa hiyo namba, tuma kwa hii namba nyingine. Wacha nikutumie hiyo namba. So that's a big problem in Uganda. Nimewekwa pale kwenye front page of the Daily Monitor. Still in Uganda, let's take a look at the New Vision, which talks about something else, something different. 41 billion shillings okayed for hiring health workers. Finance clears funding for staffing. So today, health matters given prominence on the front page. Na pale pia kwenye front page of the New Vision, impersonators of UPDF generals arrested. Quite a number of people have been pretending that they're generals in the army in Uganda. Wameshikwa sasa, ukuja utuambiwe ni general wa nani. So those are the two main stories given prominence on the two top dailies in Kampala this morning. Tuingie Tanzania. Na tuanze na gazeti la The Citizen. Tanzania turns to gene editing in malaria fight. So matters health given prominence in Tanzania. Tanzania is scaling up the fight against malaria by introducing advanced gene modification technology targeting mosquitoes that transmit the disease, which kills hundreds of people in the country annually. This also happens in Kenya. You know, is it Kemri or Kefri that has offices up on Mbagathi next to Kibra? So nasikia sometimes when you realize that there are a lot more of mosquitoes in the city.
It's Kemri.
Usually when they release these genetically modified mosquitoes to fight the others that cause malaria, ile Anopheles. Whether or not that's true, it does happen. Tanzania adopting the same technology to fight malaria. Still in Tanzania, vigogo kiini cha tatizo Kariakoo. Habari hii tuliangazia hapo jana. Wanasema shida ya majengo ambayo yameporomoka kule Kariakoo, mengine watu wameingia ndani hata kabla majengo yenyewe hajamalizwa kujengwa. So nasema vigogo ni kiini cha tatizo Kariakoo. The owners of these buildings, hao ndio wenye shida. Watajwa kumiliki majengo, rushwa yahusishwa, ukiukaji wa sheria. Pia wale wanaangazia habari ile ya mbu, teknolojia mpya ya kudhibiti mbu kuanza kutumika kule Tanzania. Masuala ya afya na masuala ya majengo kule Kariakoo. Gazeti la Mwananchi kule Tanzania.
All right.
Let's come back home and take a look at the cartoons as we wrap up the news review today. We take a look at the first caricature. This is a Daily Nation. Unajua ile wanasema ni rahisi ngamia kupita kwenye tundu la sindano kuliko tajiri kwenda mbinguni. If at all you read your Bible, and
sijaisikia hiyo.
Hujawahi, you've not been reading your Bible.
Koma kabisa.
So pale kuna ngamia amebeba, this is a caricature of the fuel cost and the biggest debate. So imekuwa kubwa kama ngamia, lakini income ni kidogo, ndio tundu la sindano. Wanasema ni rahisi ngamia kupita kwenye tundu la sindano. Unaona ikiwa rahisi, hii fuel cost utahandle na hiyo income yako ya saa hii. Gas prices are going up, fuel prices, fare imepanda, kila kitu imepanda, cost of production will go up, alafu income ni pale pale, tundu la sindano haliongezeki.
Labda tuambie hiyo verse na English. People daily. Now the ghosts of Gen Z protests are attacking President William Ruto as Stano ameweka hapa leo on the People Daily this morning. And that's the People Daily.
That's a threat of going back to the streets, whether or not it will happen. One thing is that the leader of the DCP party says they will push for people to go to the streets as from next week. So kuna hii agency ya leo, kuna ya next week ya Rigathi Gachagua, na kuna ile ya siku 3 ya Linda Mwananchi around June 25th. So definitely we are anticipating some protests at some point, either today, next week, ama hata June tukingoja.
Lakini Gen Z watatokea kweli? Hiyo yenye si yao yenye wanapangiwa na
walipanga, sisi tutajua wakitokea. Niliona poster kwa online wamesema reject fuel prices. I don't know where they are rejecting the fuel prices. The cartoon on the Standard steers clear of anything that we've been talking about. They talk about matters court and divorce. So kuna jamaa pale anasoma gazeti about family wealth na anaangalia TV inasema divorce, no 50-50 property sharing rules the Supreme Court. So this gentleman is arguing with his wife. Gentleman says a lesson for women who use marriage as a ticket to wealth. Wale watu wanasema pesa ndio kila kitu. Pesa tu. Pesa, wachana mapenzi. Lakini ile mwanamke pale anasema but men always use wealth as a ticket to marriage. Do they? Interesting debate there. That's a cartoon on the Standard.
The one on the Star pia inaongelelea matters protests. We don't have it on screen, lakini polisi wako caricature hapo wakisema I'm very ready for Tuesday. It's the police now who are ready for Tuesday. Sio wa Kenya who are very ready for Tuesday. Usually tunasema I'm very ready for Tuesday.
For Tuesday.
But for Tuesday. But today sasa the Star wanasema ni police who are ready for Tuesday here. So these are the stories making headlines in the country and of course regionally as well. We have traffic.
Let's take a look at some traffic this morning. Na kama umenipata pale kiasi. Yes, major roads in the city, and this is how they're looking like today. So we start off with Thika Road, and I can see a long stretch there from KU all the way to Githurai, past Kahao and Dani. On your way towards town, that could be a problem for people using Thika Road. After that, it's green all the way, but you may experience some traffic up Pale Kasarani, TRM. After that, it's not so bad. Up until you get to the Pangani interchange kama kawaida, it is around 6:29 asubuhi. That stretch from Survey, Pale Utalii Drift, ukipanda Mathare Mental Hospital, kuna traffic pale. Other than that, the CBD, especially Haile Selassie Avenue, both sides of the road, kutoka Uhuru Highway mpaka pale Landis roundabout, naona iko busy, hata ukiingia pale barabara kama River Road as well. The other side of town, that's Wayakiwe, getting into town, it's not so bad. All other roads, Limuru Road, Red Hill Road, not so bad this morning. Tuangalie Jogoo Road huku chini. Ukujua kunanga traffic bwana. Jogoo Road hapa chini, areas around Makongeni, yes, it's building up. It's yellow right now, so not so bad. Mombasa Road also looking green this morning, all the way from the airport to the CBD. And that's a traffic situation this morning, not so bad. Eastern Bypass, dots of red and yellow, that entire stretch, especially as you get closer to the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and the KQ headquarters, as well as Utawala section. Other than that, all other major roads in the city are looking green this Tuesday morning. All right.
Coming up next is the State of the Nation.
Yes, a focus on the fuel prices and how it impacts your life. We'll be having a chairman of the Forward Travelers, which is a Matatu Sacco here in Nairobi, to tell us maswala ya fare. Tutakuwa pia na mtu kutoka kwenye Petroleum Marketers Association here in Kenya, tell us how they're dealing with it, as well as a member of the Energy Committee in the Senate, that's Senator Danson Mungatana. Yes, Martin Chomba, who's the chair of the Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya, wanaitwa POAC, will be here. Paul Duo as well, who's the chairperson, Forward Travelers. Do stand by for that conversation. And if at all you do have questions, share with us as well through our social media pages, TV47 Kenya on Facebook, TV47 Digital on X, na ile
Matukio Halisi on YouTube. You can tag us. My handle is at @Ann_Dida.
Mine is at Fred Ndimuli. Use hashtag TV47 breakfast, hashtag story yetu.
My name is Chef Average. Today on Bachelor's Kitchen, I'm going to make a traditional ham and cheese sandwich, a favorite for many, I guess. So I've got ham here, cheese, but you could use any ham available and cheese, cheddar preferably. I've got bread, I've got tomatoes, lettuce that I'm going to put into my sandwich, salt, black pepper, and some butter as well. I've pre-washed my tomatoes and lettuce. I'm just going to cut a few slices of tomato. The tomatoes and lettuce are optional. I'm just going to put a few slices of tomatoes in here. I'm just going to select a bit of lettuce. What I'm going to do next is put a bit of salt and a bit of pepper. You just have to be careful with the salt, especially on a process like this, because the cheese has a bit of salt. The ham as well has a bit of salt. I've got my mix of lettuce and tomatoes ready. I'm not going to take my bread. I'm going to butter my bread on both sides. You can actually put mustard. You could use mayonnaise as well. I need to put it on both sides because if I'm going to put it on a toaster and I need to have that nice brown color on it, I'm going to do the sandwich in two different ways. I'm going to show you how to do it in a sandwich toaster and also straight on a pan just in case you don't have a sandwich toaster. There we go. Now to the fun bit. Depending on how heavy you want your sandwich, you can put either one slice or two slices of ham. So I've got mine here with two slices of ham. This is pre-sliced cheese, readily available. Again, depends on how much cheese you like. You could actually have more cheese. I'm just going to put a bit of assorted lettuce. This is optional. Bit of tomato. More salt on top of it. Bit of pepper. There we go. So I've got my work prepped up. I'm now just going to switch on my toaster. I'll show you the other way. By using a pan as well. Just in case you don't have a toaster, you could always make your sandwich in a pan. The goodness of this particular sandwich is you could actually have it cold as well. I'll put it on medium heat, so I'm just going to wait for one side to cook and slowly turn it over while I check on the other sandwich as well. You can see the bread is nice golden brown, the cheese is melted. So this is the one from the toaster. That's the one that I did in my pan. I've got my two sandwiches ready. One that I did on a pan and the other one that I did in the sandwich toaster. So here's your ham and cheese and enjoy your meal.
TV47. On the next episode of Vuta Stool.
Mimi sipendi venye beba ananiangalia. Alikuwa nafikiria kuniacha. I really don't buy from shops anymore.
So hiyo ndio story imekuleta hapa.
Customer nowadays they notice many things.
You really need to think about renovating. People judge places now. Cheki duka venye inakaa. Nika tunauza tu unga peke yake. Manze tumechoka kanzi.
We, sikiza, sisi ni duka.
Hakuona shop. Aliona mistakes.
Alikuja kununua juice.
But alihesitate.
Watu hesitate kufanya vitu all the time hapa.
This is the latest in the market. And the material is ceramic. Ceramic. And people like them.
Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. on TV47. Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m.
This is a very serious place.
I see that.
Surely. Hey, nyumba.
This is the place.
Just for a few days.
Rule number 2.
Kwani Google inajua maisha yangu wewe?
That's my seat.
It's a chair.
It was hers.
You're new here?
Yes.
You learned the rhythm.
This place is run by structure. Structure.
It is a system. Ni venye tu ni system haisikizi.
And what happens if something you haven't chosen enters your day?
I remove it.
That's not always going to be possible here.
Then you are going to have a problem.
Noted.
What are you planning? To escape from a resort?
This is not a resort, my friend. This is a storage.
Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. on TV47.
The fuel price increase in the country continues to stir public outrage, arousing fears over its far-reaching economic impact on Kenyans.
Hizo nchi zote mafuta ni bei rahisi kuliko kwetu. Na unajua ya kwamba wale ambao wako mbali bei yao inatakikana kuwa hata juu sababu ya usafirishaji.
Online, anti-fuel price hike protests are gaining momentum, with mobilization efforts spreading across social media, sparking anticipated nationwide demonstrations. However, the government warns anyone calling for further protests risks plunging the country into a fourth economic crisis, ultimately harming the very youth they claim to represent. As the pressure mounts, a Rongo Member of Parliament Paul Abor has moved to table a proposal seeking to amend the Petroleum Act 2019. In his proposal, Abor seeks to introduce an emergency pricing period which could be declared by the Energy Cabinet Secretary in consultation with the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority EPRA during times of heightened global market volatility.
In terms of global uncertainties, our system must respond with speed and fairness. This proposal provides a balanced, practical solution that protects both consumer and supply stability.
Under the proposed changes, prices would be reviewed more frequently during crisis periods, allowing Kenyans to benefit faster when international oil prices drop.
During this period, prices will only go down or remain stable and never rise mid-cycle. For instance, we know that we normally review prices every 30 days, but we're trying to put in a mechanism where when the prices drop, the consumers can get immediate benefit.
Human rights organization Amnesty International is, however, calling on the National Police Service to facilitate peaceful protests and refrain from any form of suppression. The organization emphasizes that the right to demonstrate is protected under the law, urging police to facilitate peaceful protests and safety of bystanders and exercise lawful command responsibility. Amnesty maintains that the use of force must be lawful and that health workers and neutral parties be protected, as well as the rights of arrested persons. As the fuel debate intensifies, the spotlight now shifts to policymakers, with Kenyans demanding urgent, practical solutions to ease the burden of high energy costs. Sheila Chelangat for TV47.
Yes, Sheila Chelangat there setting the stage for this discussion this morning. Fuel prices in Kenya hit a record high mid this month, with super petrol now retailing at approximately 197 shillings. But remember, the hike was about 40 shillings a litre, and it took the intervention of the government, basically the reduction of VAT on fuel to about 8%, and also an intervention through subsidy of about 6.2 billion shillings for it to come to slightly below the 200 shilling mark. Yet Kenyans are feeling the hits and the threat that people may go back to the streets in protest at the high fuel prices, which in turn will have a ripple effect on the cost of production, on the prices of cooking gas and other products, remains a reality. And this is what we want to talk about today. We're privileged to have in studio Martin Shomba, who's a chairperson, Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya, POAC. Karibu sana, Bwana Shomba.
Thank you for having me.
Also with us this morning is Bwana Paul Thiongo, who's the chairman of Forward Traveller Sacco, representing Matatu and public transport operators. Karibu sana, Bwana Thiongo. And we do hope that Senator Danson Mungatana will be joining us. He sits in the Energy Committee. Tell us more about policy and legislation with regard to regulation of that sector. But when the rubber meets the road, it is these two gentlemen who actually should be talking to us. Fine. Fuel prices are up. Bus fares are up. Cooking gas up. And everything has been blamed on what's happening in the Middle East. But we are also aware that prior to the latest review by EPRA, there was already a shortage of fuel in the country that was blamed directly on petroleum marketers, and accusations of hoarding in anticipation of heightened prices was there. Do you agree, Bwana Shomba, that yes, to some extent, some of what normal Kenyans are feeling right now has little to do with what happened in the Middle East and a lot to do with profits by the marketers?
So it needs to be understood in context for it to make sense. So prior to the EPRA review of 14th of this month, indeed there was a shortage of fuel. But the shortage of fuel had happened because of how our economy worldwide is organized. So markets react to reality before they react to any arrangements. Mm-hmm. And so the reality is when it was apparent that the prices were going up, any trader anywhere in the world will be very cautious, because what happens is as you trade, you sell what you have today, and then the prices of diesel was anticipated to go up in between 70 and 80 shillings. And so if you're running a sizable amount of fuel like the oil marketers do, what that means in essence is that next month when you're going to market, you'll have to go to the bank to get money to restock. And so that is the reality of the market. The arrangement is sell what you have, because we know you bought it at this much. But even the guy next door to your shop will know that if the prices of unga are going up tomorrow, they will not be able to give that fuel or all out, or that unga all out, knowing that tomorrow they have to go to the bank to restock. Having said that, the real issue that happened to and made some shortage in the industry was not basically because of what they were, because of that. It is because you cannot indict oil marketers of hoarding. One, all their petrol stations were getting fuel. So the critical mass of the people that we represent, the village guys who sell with one pump in your village where you come from, where I come from, those are the people who could not access. And the reason that they could not access the fuel is because they have no contractual obligations with the oil marketers.
Yet we experienced that problem in Nairobi as well. There were marketers that there were stations where you would go to and you're told,
now this is the context. The reason why the big stations were not having fuel is because if the village I come from in Kirinyaga County does not have fuel, or the pumps around that place do not have fuel, the oil major who is in Kerugoya town will have to fuel all the vehicles and the motorbikes I was fueling. And so if that guy stocks 5,000 liters a day, then they will be selling that 5,000 within 2 hours. And the turnaround time for that truck to go to Nairobi, get the fuel and come back, or even if you're trading just next to Karen, and everybody around Gong Town, around that place does not have fuel, it means those oil majors will have more vehicles to fuel. So that is what necessitated or occasioned the kind of shortage that you are seeing, because you bring fuel, but within 3 hours it's depleted.
But what's the difference? If you have fuel, you don't want it to be depleted in 3 hours, but you're still not selling it.
Yeah,
those who need it.
So what happened as people started going, and this is something that people also need to appreciate. You see, most of these stations, petrol stations you see out there, they do not belong to the companies. Most of them is you when you retire or you have some side hustle somewhere, you build a petrol station and it's branded. And sometimes you are the one running it. And so the concept I gave you earlier still applies because you're still buying this fuel.
So the liberalized nature of petroleum marketing organizations also has to blame.
It has to.
Because so far, according to our policies, we've managed to regulate the prices, but not the running of this market oil stations. As well.
You know the problem? The problem is because the government of Kenya does not own even 1 liter of petroleum in this country. It is in the hands of the private sector. The private sector is answerable to their shareholders. They are not answerable to anybody else. The CEO of this company will answer questions to their shareholders. So the government is just there to regulate logistics.
All right.
Yeah.
And Bonachomba, I'll come back to you. Let me engage Bonathiong on this one. Fuel prices go up and immediately bus fare is up. But then again, when the fuel prices go down, if at all the situation improves, Kenyans are saying the fare prices, the bus fares are not going down in tandem. Do you agree that even from your perspective, for travelers, lazima wafanye ile kitu when fuel prices go down as well?
Thank you very much, Fred. I just wanted to not talk about for travelers. I just wanted to talk about the entire Matatu Fraternity or Matatu Business or PSV. So it is not realistic that as much as you have announced that we are going to increase the cost of fare or transport, it's not realistic because the same person that used to be struggling paying the previous fare is the same person that you are telling them that you are going to add the price of the fare. So it's not realistic. When you go to the ground, these are different. I just wanted, it's very unfortunate to the government that fuel is a very basic commodity and is still making an exorbitant profit out of it. Out of every fare paying passenger, if a passenger paid 100 shillings, 50 shillings go to the fuel, 25 go to the government, 25% go to the government itself. So it's very unfortunate that the government is still making a lot of profit out of the fuel when the Kenyans are still struggling. We never thought that this government will be able to exploit Kenyans in an extent whereby they are struggling and is still making a lot of profit. According to the statistic, Bonafred, the government is earning almost 350 billions per fuel. And the government can be able to sell fuel at 56 and 57 diesel and super respectively. 56 shillings diesel, 57 shillings super, and be able to collect more than 175 billion per year. So it's very unfortunate the government have no goodwill with Kenyans and is still making a very big profit out of the basic commodity. And Kenyans are really suffering. Do you know, Mr. Fred, Kenyans are traveling, like 17 million Kenyans are traveling, commuting and also traveling long distance. Out of all those traveling, 17 billion, they are going for works. The main percentage are going for work. The other are going for the business. Other are going to seek for the essential services. The only people, percentage that go for the leisures is 1%. So in essence, that Kenya really need that commodity that called fuel, because out of the payment that you make, you pay 100 shillings. I let Kenyans understand this. If you pay 100 shillings, 50 shillings go for the fuel. 50% to the government, 50% to the real commodity. So we are calling upon the government to stop making an exorbitant profit from this commodity, because it's a basic commodity which is affecting Kenya's daily living.
And I noted how fast you were to blame the government. But even as transport and matatu operators, you've been accused of making exorbitant profits. Because, for example, someone traveling from the city center to Kiambu town, for example, before last week they were paying about 100 shillings. Now they're paying about 120, 130 shillings. 30 shillings on top of what they were paying for per passenger. Do you think that is fair? whether or not the fuel prices have gone up. Because now if each passenger in a 40-seater matatu pays extra 30 shillings, that's about, what, 1,200 more? Is that in tandem with the rise in fuel prices?
Thank you, Fred. This is not a reality. It is only go to a very small percentage of the vehicle which we call them aganyas. And passengers choose to travel with those ganyas. Those are the vehicles that choose to hike the price the way they wanted to hike it. But the basic vehicles, the ordinary vehicles, have not hiked the price. Because the reality being that the Kenyans are still struggling. Before, they were struggling before, and currently they are struggling. If you go to Kayore, where our offices are based, we still carry at that bob from Kayore to town. From Kayore to town. We still
no increase at all?
Yes, there's no changes. Actually, in the reality, I just wanted maybe you can confirm from the real investors. There is no exorbitant profit that we are making. Actually, currently, our revenue have gone down. There's no big profit we are making. It was not a reality. And actually, let me tell you, out of those Ganyas, those money are not subjected to the owner of the vehicles. Mostly, those vehicles benefit the conductor and drivers. At the real sense, what happens? Those vehicles that we call them Maganya, which are very small percentage, and the government itself is the one which have encouraged those Ganyas. It's not about the investor. As a matatu business operators, we are not encouraging it because actually those Ganyas are making are very prone to the accidents in the road because they are even driven badly. But those Gen Zs, those young generation, they used to travel with them.
Yet, for the business to make sense, they have to be at least some marginal increase to cater for this high fuel prices because it's a business and the bottom line does matter. Do you have any standard, especially in the matatu sector? Maybe the larger transport industry may not know, but do you have any structure or any prorated system of how to increase fuel prices, how to increase bus fare when you need to?
Of course, we have a chart, a bus fare chart. What we have done, we have just increased commuter. You have just increased with 20 shillings and 10 shillings according to the time. But the fact remains that as much as you have in the chart, the demand and supply dictate more. The demand and supply dictate more. We can find that the chart is indicating is that shilling at this particular moment, and you find that the supply, the customer are not more. So you find that as much as the chart is stating that bob, you are still charging 20 bob for the current.
Why is that? If at all you need to go to 30 bob? Okay. Because people still have to go to work. Are we saying that people are now using other means? Are they walking to work more?
Okay, of course. There are those people, members of the public, who will opt to walk if they feel that the charging that you are charging them is higher. They will choose to wake up very early in the morning and walk to their work. Yes, because to you may have thought that 20 shillings or 10 bob is a small amount of the money, but it accounts to some of the members of the public. That 10 shillings is enough to buy a sukuma wiki. Yeah. For a member of the public and ordinary Kenyans. Yes.
The feeling, Bwana Chomba, is that businessmen, especially those in petroleum marketing, are very slow to absorb some of these losses, that it is very easy just to push it on to the consumer. Do you agree that oil marketers could do a bit more instead of just burdening the consumer at the very end?
You see, in Ndimuri, in Kenya, we don't have a petroleum industry. We have a petroleum logistics industry. And so what we run here is logistics, pure. The way we get the fuel from Saudi Arabia or the Gulf region is the way that fuel is dispensed at the pump. No value addition, no nothing. And so the existence of EPRA is basically to apportion how these fuel margins are shared across the value chain, and how, because fuel is a national strategic installation, that there has to be fuel in the country. And so the oil marketer does not in any way determine how much they earn from the fuel. It doesn't matter how high the fuels go or how low it comes. Their margins still remain intact because this is statutory given by EPRA. So if they earn 4 shillings per litre, it will be 4 shillings per litre whether the fuel is 300 or whether it is 50 bob. And so those are the mechanics that operates within the industry. And so the oil marketer cannot be accused of not shouldering, because there will be no mechanism of shouldering that unless it is done by EPRA.
Even if we go back to the first argument you made, that marketers held back some of their stocks so that they could benefit from that high.
No. That's now stock. That now stock. That is different, because what happens in the country, and people ought to appreciate this, that the fuel that we are using today is not the fuel that was announced in Gulf yesterday. It is always over a month old, and so at any particular time, there'll always be fuel within the Kenya pipeline system that now comes to, and it is part and parcel of what will be dispensed in the following month. So the issue of the stock, that could be an issue whenever the prices are going up. And what happens is, actually what you call holding for them, for the oil marketers, is that they go slow on selling to us. I'll give you a very good example. I think right now, the price of diesel is not making sense to the marketers. And so our petrol stations, including the people we deal with, are not accessing diesel because they feel the price that has been given by the government for diesel, it is way low compared to how it ought to be selling. And the government is insisting on subsidy. And this subsidy is basically telling you to sell at this cost, I'll pay you afterwards. Sometimes you don't pay at profit, at an interest, and then again, sometimes that becomes a pending bill. And so everybody is skeptical of dispensing. I'm talking from a point where I am understanding. I'm not an oil marketer. I am actually in the lower cadre. I always tell people that I give a worm's eye view of the market. And so this is how we are seeing it. We are not accessing that diesel. That can
out of choice, or
no,
the prices are
they are not able to sell. They are selling. They are holding back from selling, because the only way they can sell to you, it's at the pump price.
Wow.
If they sell to me at the pump price and I'm expected to carry that fuel to my place and then sell, and there's no margin, so what do? I just give up. And when I give up, then the same cycle comes back, because everybody who I was selling to will troop to the marketers, and the fuel will get depleted, and then there will be stock out, and then there will be a panic that there's no fuel in the country. So in as much as, and this is what I've been saying, and the CS Energy ought to appreciate this, that it is not about whether we have the fuel in the country. It is actually the access of this fuel to every corner of the republic. Yes. So that is what must make
And it's
sense.
very interesting that Kenyans get to learn some of these things. And sometimes, yes, there's a lot of fuel in the country.
Yes.
But because of the dynamics between the marketers and
the distributors.
And the margins that they stand to make and the distributors, then the price ends up being a bit too high, and then they call it a shortage.
Exactly.
Wow. Let's take a short break. TV47 Breakfast will be back to continue this conversation as we break down this apparent fuel crisis.
Yami na flow kama maji, juu ni tamu kama sali. Ni juicy. Are you bored? Kuna vitu zinakuudhi, usijali my bro, hebu kama taka juicy juni.
Saturday at 8:30 p.m.
My father used to tell me that our hotel is the home for travelers. I guess I forgot that. Recently, it's been more of a mirror of my own ambition. Ooh, yeah. We might fail. We will probably fail, but not for a lack of trying. So for the last time, and the first time, welcome to Connect In, the best experience in Eastern Central Africa and its environs.
Saturday at 8:30 p.m. on TV47. On the next episode of Vuta Stool.
Mimi sipendi venye beba ananiangalia. Alikuwa nafikiria kuniacha. I really don't buy from shops anymore.
So hiyo ndio story imekuleta hapa.
Customer nowadays, they notice many things.
You really need to think about renovating. People judge places now. Cheki duka venye inakaa. Nika tunauza tu unga peke yake. Manze tumechoka kanzi.
We, sikiza, sisi ni duka.
Hakuona show. Aliona mistake.
Alikuja kununua juice.
but alihesitate.
Watu hesitate kufanya vitu all the time hapa.
This is the latest in the market, and the material is ceramic. Ceramic. And people like them.
Vuta Stool! Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. on TV47.
Yes, indeed, you're still watching TV47 Breakfast with me, Fred Indemoli. We continue breaking down the fuel price hikes and the crisis that now we stare at, the possibility of a return to the streets, protests beginning today, whether or not they happen. There has been threats that from next week, politicians will lead other protests, and eventually, when it comes to June 25th, we could see protests as well. Whether that will happen or not, that's a different story. We just want to understand the current situation with the fuel crisis, if we may call it that, because definitely whether or not we have fuel, there appears to be a crisis. And Bwana Thiongo, I'm still here, by the way, with Martin Shomba, who's a chairperson, Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya, that's POAC, and Paul Thiongo, who's a chairman for Travelers Sacco, who's representing the matatu operators and public transport operators as well. Bwana Thiongo, so many people watch the industry and they accuse matatu operators of profiteering from such a crisis. So break it down to us in terms of numbers. How probably an example of is it 42 or 52 seater matatu?
33 seater.
33 seater matatu.
Common, yeah.
That's a common that plies most of the routes in Nairobi.
Yes.
How much usually were they making one matatu before the price hikes, and how much are they making now, so that we see if at all there's any adjustment there?
Okay, thank you very much, Fred. A normal matatu, that the 3 seaters, a new one now, which is currently now mostly operating at the CBD or around the Nairobi metropolitans. It used to make like 9,000 to 10,000 per day.
Per day.
Yes.
As profit?
Yes. As not about the profit, that's the return at the end of the day, whereby we need to factor servicing, insurance, all the compliance
loan
layers,
repayments.
and from then, not about fuel now. That's a return that we need to factor loan repayment, insurance, comprehensive, and third parties. We need to factor about servicing, tire, wear of the vehicle, general. So out of those 10,000 that the vehicle used to make previously, you find that most of the vehicle used to pay a loan of 180,000 per month for the installment. And at the time that the vehicle was collecting like 10,000 per day, we still strain to meet that target of 180 because of other liabilities, wear and so-called. When the fuel hiked with 40 shillings, that vehicles per day, it consumed like 60 liters. 60 liters times 40, that is 2,400.
That eats into the 10,000.
That 2,400 drivers and conductors deducted directly from the revenue that the owner used to get. So the revenue dropped from 9,000 to 7,000. So if the owner of the vehicle was training to meet an installment of 180 out of correction 10,000, just see where the owner of the vehicle will end up being. The vehicle will end up being auctioned, loss of business, and loss of work, because that vehicle have created an employment opportunity to the driver and conductors. And actually you have been trying to adjust that 10 shillings, not about more, about those money that you are saying, 50 and whatever. And actually that 10 shillings is not a mandatory. It is being dictated by the supply and the demand. And actually those clients that used to be to carry, they come and negotiate with those conductors. Yes, you used to carry me with 100, I still have that 100 shillings. And you used to carry them. Out of that, we understand the challenges that the Kenya they are undergoing. Currently, we are not making profit, actually. And if you can be able to equate the investment of an investor of transport business and the challenges that you used to go through the operation of transport, it is not a good profit-making business. But because we don't have other opportunity, and maybe that's the business that we understand currently. and we don't have an opportunity to have another business, we still work on it. But it's not that you are working because you are making a lot of money.
You do your calculation with a 40 shilling increase, but we know there have been interventions, a reduction in VAT, and the subsidy that oil marketers will receive at a later date, probably. But with that, it means that at least there is some relief for the matatu operators. But is this relief shared between the matatu operators and the commuters, or is it just a relief enjoyed by the matatu operators only?
No, we have not enjoyed even that relief of 10 shillings. Can you equate about 40 shillings now to 30 shillings? 10 shillings is 600 shillings. And we have been making a loss of 2,400 per day. So that means that currently we are making a loss of 1,800 per day. And we are trying to balance about that 1,800. And the reality is that we have not increased the cost of transportation, of commuting. We have the transport officers or the representative of the transport industry have announced that you have increased, and we have strategized the increase. But the reality is the common mwananchi is not able to pay that much. Yeah.
All right. There's a question about the regulations of the industry in jurisdictions like Tanzania. The law states that the authority, the transport, the equivalent of the NTSA, determines the bus fare. It is not up to the matatu operators. In Kenya, it's left to the matatu operators. Do you think that kind of system would be better, where it is not up to the matatu operators to determine bus fares, it is up to the regulator, the government, to determine bus fares, whether the price of fuel goes up or not?
That's the best way at the model. And we are ready to embrace that, because what we understand in, of course, when the regulator will be able to standardize the price, the government will still also intervene, also standardizing the cost of fuel. Because we understand that if the government can make at least 40 shillings to earn 40 shillings from the consumption of every liter of diesel, we can be able to sell that diesel at 156 shillings per day. That means that there will be a reflect, it will reflect the reduce of cost of commuting. And you are ready for that. If the government can be able to embrace that, to standardize the price of the commuting or traveling, we are ready for that.
Yes. Talk about how markets run and how the policies determine this. Because we're seeing the fuel prices in Uganda are much lower than in Kenya. Even in Tanzania, they're much lower in Kenya. Do you think that if we may approach it that way, it will be over-regulating the industry? Of course, EPRA sets the prices. If NTSA was to set the bus fares as well, and probably more regulations for the marketers on how much they can hold as stock and hoard fuel or not. Do you think that would work?
Indimuli, I am a student of development studies, and we try to, in our course of study, to appreciate and look at different models of different countries and how they have applied the mechanisms of managing the economies so as to get them to where they are. And there are different routes that people use. And amongst them is the market systems that we see currently. Like in Kenya, we say we are a capitalist state. But circumstances like that we don't have what we call the oil strategic reserves demand that the government of Kenya regulates the presence so that there's oil in this country. Because if we leave it to marketers to think whether they will bring oil or not, tomorrow you might find a marketer who has a 50% share or 30% share of the oil industry decide that they are doing now toothpicks, they are importing toothpicks, and will be left without oil. And so that is what makes the government come in. But ideally, when we usually say anytime you find too much of government in the economy, then that is not right. The economy ought to be left to the market forces of supply and demand. And whenever there are critical needs, like the way Kenya has a critical need for the petroleum industry, what happens is in other jurisdictions, you'll find that the governments of those other jurisdictions develop and give muscle to a state corporation so that it can control fuel prices and the fuel availability in the country. Kenya anticipated that a while back, where they thought that National Oil Corporation of Kenya would be the the government, state corporation that would dictate the running of the petroleum in the country. And so there was even a law in place that mandated that every liter, every consignment brought into the country, 30% ought to have been imported through National Oil Corporation. For one reason or the other, inefficiencies and I think lack of proper management, National Oil is no longer active at what we call the downstream. They are active at the upstream. So for me, I would wish to say that the less the government is into the market, the better for the market. Why? The minute you bring in a lot of regulation, what you stem out is competition. And when you step out competition, then you realize that you are not able to compete at the level that we should be. Take, for instance, in Uganda. In as much as there is concerted effort in importation, in terms of regulation, they are not told, go sell this, go sell that. So the oil marketers will go out there and try to compete with each other. And that's how you end up seeing that they sometimes outcompete each other to an extent that they go lower than Kenya, which the fuel passes through here.
So you feel that this monthly review by EPRA is part of the problem?
The pump price review should not be there, if you ask me. What we ought to have right now is that the government ensures that the oil marketers bring the fuel and they are regulated, their licenses mandates that they must have this amount of fuel in the country at every moment so that we don't have the problem. So that the government, the only care for the government should be how much fuel is in the country. Then leave the rest to the market forces. Let me give you an example. Yes. A few, 2 months or so, in this country, we were seeing prices. The EPRA has given this price, but some oil marketers are selling even 10 bob below what is given. Why? Because the market out there, like I said, markets react to reality before they react to arrangements, are that the fuel was cheaper. And so they are able to extend because of the cargoes that are coming. So they know that this cargo that I have is expensive, but there's a very cheap cargo, maybe by 20 shillings. So I would rather drop nichome 10 bob here so that I can recover in the next cargo and I move bigger volume. Those are market dynamics. And so for me, instead of telling people how much to sell, then let the market forces determine. The only thing that you do as a regulator is to make sure that there is a lot of fuel in the country.
What do you feel about this G2G? Is it another level of regulation by government? Do you feel like if oil marketers were left to import by themselves without that kind of deal straight from one government to another, that probably the market forces would be a bit more balanced? Okay, before I come to that, let me say two things. That oil prices are cheaper in places like Uganda than they are in Kenya, because I think that is an issue that is being debated quite a bit. First is the regulation of the pump price. As I've said, the market forces, people compete out there to sell. The other thing is that in our model of taxation, taxation in Kenya accounts for between, I think, 40 to almost 48%, whereas in places like Uganda is between 30 and 40% in between there. So that's a component. Those two things make sure that the prices are different. Nevertheless, as I heard the president say yesterday or the other day, the truth of the matter is also we have more demands. It's like a home, a home that has electricity, the lightings huko nje, and the guys with one bulb. The one bulb will pay a lesser charge than the guy with the whole compound to light. Having said that, you asked about the merits and the demerits of the G2G. I would rather paraphrase the question that you're asking. I think that will adequately cover it. G2G came into the country when we had experienced a problem. And this problem was so dire that something really needed to happen. If you remember in 2022, we had also gotten to a place where you would wake up in the morning and there was no fuel anywhere. What had precipitated that was our model of procurement through what we called OTS. Even G2D today is an appendix of OTS. OTS is the mainframe. So what used to happen there is that every morning when a vessel docks at Mombasa, they could not discharge before they are paid. And the payment used to be in dollar.
For context, we consume about 460 million, give or take, million liters of oil in the country. And so we ought to pay about $500 million every month or thereabout. And so what would happen in the morning is that the oil marketers would be scampering for dollars in the morning. And when you wake up in the morning, Central Bank of Kenya used to regulate the dollar, as in how much you can buy. And that created a lot of panic in the country and a lot of panya route businesses, so that you find in places adjacent to CBD had other places where people would get those dollars and all that. And so what would happen is that every time that the ship would spend waiting for dollars, they would surcharge as what you call demurrage. And that demurrage was equivalent of 4 to 5 million shillings every day. And that would still be passed to the pump, because any cost that is incurred, it is Indimuli who pays at the pump. And so that is what one of the things that G2G was meant to cure. So what happened is that the price of dollar was going up. Were it not for the central bank regulation that you could only buy this amount of dollars every day, the prices would have been up the roof, probably upwards of 180 or 200 by then. But I think at some point when they let it off, we got to about 160 before they start. So what the G2G came to do was simply one thing: to have an arrangement where the government guarantees. Because in Kenya, on the side of Kenya, it is not government who hold this oil, it is private sector. But they guarantee the state corporations of the origin of the fuel that give this fuel to Indimuli. I have licensed him, I know him. In actual sense, it is those companies that nominate. Even today, they can change, they reserve the right to change whoever they deal with. So they nominate the people that they had been dealing with prior. Because that fuel that was coming through OTS was still theirs. We have always traditionally imported from Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi and such. So they know the companies they had always worked with. So when the government came in and demanded to have a system that is secure and will ease the pressure of the dollar, so the companies said that they have to nominate. They have to nominate the people that they work with. So they went for the people that, the companies that we have today, they are the same companies that were importing through OTS. And so it is upon the strength of that importation that they got. But there are others who are importing, but they were not taken into consideration. That's a story for another day. So what happened is, when now we get the fuel, the banks, they would issue the LC, a Kenyan bank. Actually, it is one bank that took the risk, and I think it's good to mention it's KCB that took the risk. Most of the people were a bit skeptical whether that will go through. And so when they took the risk to issue the LC, it meant that the fuel would come in the country. And what we say that we pay in Kenya shillings, it is true. We pay in Kenya shilling to the person, the owner of the cargo, the person that has been entrusted with the cargo by the originators of the fuel in the other side. But within 6 months, 180 days, we have a duty, the bank now have a duty to pay in dollars. And so what G2G cured was the time that is needed to look for dollars within the economy. Within 6 months, and then they can pay. And that now what is essentially eased the pressure on the dollar, and that stabilized the Kenya shilling.
So it does not necessarily cause another problem?
No, it doesn't cause another problem. The only demerits of open tender system is that it locks us into specific source. And now when we have the choke point at the Strait of Hormuz closed, then it means that we have very few options. And this is something I've spoken, that the government needs to diversify sources of petroleum, because the choke point controls 20% of the world fuel movement. So it means there's 80% elsewhere. So if we need to make sure that we don't get ourselves into that space again, we need to diversify, get our fuel from Venezuela, Libya, Angola, Nigeria. They are all over. The places are all over.
There have been attempts by different matatu SACCOs and transporters to actually get into the business of oil marketing. I've seen some matatus or some SACCOs getting to own their own petrol stations. Does that work? Does that help in stabilizing this issue for the matatus?
We have also had a petrol station of our own, but the main problem is not who owns petrol station, who import oil, who sell it. The main problem is when will the government stop making that exorbitant charges and profit from the oil product and refer it as an essential commodity to Kenyans. Because as much as we have our own petrol station, and the government will take 80 shillings per litre of whatever we sell, we consume. So it will not make the difference. And the problem here, I will support the Mr. Shoba, whereby we allow the demand and supply, and also allow the private investors to operate or to control the fuels. But the problem here is, as much as the private investors or is the government taking control of the oil, the problem here is, what is the government take? The charges, those exorbitant charges, even if it's a private institution, go to import the oil. And when the oil get into Kenya, the Kenyan government charge you 80 shillings per litre. Is it making sense? And that's the reason question I just wanted to ask to our senator.
Yeah, apparently as
our senator
failed to show up.
Yes, and because they need to make a policy there in the parliament that control government from taking an exorbitant profit from the basic commodity. Because oil is a basic commodity, it's affecting everyone. If it is affecting 17 million travelers per day, what about the less industry?
So you're saying that that possible solution of matatu SACCOs owning their own petrol station has not in any way provided an answer to the kind of questions you ask?
Okay, I'm not saying that it's not a provided solution. The only problem here we are having is not who owns petrol stations. The main problem that you're having, the government take in that product.
Have there been any advantages of matatu SACCOs owning and running their own petrol station?
The only advantages is only taking that profit to their own instead of taking to the own of the petrol stations. And it's not a very big, huge margin. Talking about the society like for travelers, making something to do with maybe 2 million or 3 million per month from the petrol station is not a big deal to the institution like for travelers. Because what matters a lot is not that shillings you shall get from every consumption of 1 liters per diesel. What matters a lot, how much can we save if the government can stop having a lot of charges, charging us 80 shillings per liter that you consume.
All right.
Yes.
Let's focus more now about these government interventions that you've had in the recent past. A lot has been said about the reduction of VAT. Initially to 13%, then eventually to 8%. Yeah. But for how long can that be sustained? I don't know. Then this issue of subsidies, that was a big talking point come 2022, that we were spending too much on subsidizing the cost of fuel. Do you think those interventions by themselves are enough to stabilize this market, or do you foresee a problem once things have to go back to normal?
Yes, I foresee a problem. But before I get to that, let me clarify something that also appear to be a misconception in the public. There is a very big difference between oil marketers and oil dealers, the petroleum dealers. The dealers are the people who run the petrol stations. So what forward travelers run, I don't know, I know at some point they were running a petrol station, I think in Kayole.
Yes.
Yeah, it is running a petrol station. That is a dealer. That is like you buy and come and sell. Oil marketers, the OMCs, are the companies that import, participate in the when this cargo comes through G2G, saying it's basically, we say it's Indimuli who have brought this cargo, but in that cargo, I own 10% of it, he owns 30% or whatever, according to the market share, established market share. There are so many arrangements within the petroleum industry in Kenya that goes into determining who has what, who sells what, according to the market share. So people ought to appreciate that there's a difference between the guy at the pump. That guy at the pump operates like hydraulic. He has no leverage whatsoever. So it is ukifinya, so
no advantage to them either way.
There is no advantage whatsoever to the petrol station owners. And the Kenyans must also appreciate that we confuse capitalization for profit. The industry of the petroleum logistics industry turn a lot of money but there's very little profitability. I'll give you an example. If you go and fuel at his station for 2,000 shillings, saa hiyo umesumbua watu, umeoshewa kioo, umewekewa pressure, umefanyiwa kila kitu. The only thing that this guy does, he does not make over 50 shillings. He makes around 40 shillings. And that is gross. So his leverage is capitalization. It is volume. If he has enough volume, then he'll make some business sense. But with the proliferation of petrol stations, you see them mushrooming everywhere because the likes of Indimuri feels that energy, petroleum, ikona pesa. So when you retire, the first place you want to do. You see, capitalization is not profit. They look at the statistics of how many people have started petrol stations and have exited. They are more. There are too many actually in this country, and it has been a trap, actually an investment trap for people who are coming from the corporate sector or from public sector, thinking that they will retire there, and only to drain everything that you had. Then you have to end up giving these petrol stations, and that's why I told you most of these petrol stations are not owned by individuals; they are franchised. Because once you build it, is when you realize it is a mongrel of a thing to run. So you can't run it so...
It's an animal. Yeah. Probably there's convenience in running, especially if you run a fleet of tens or hundreds of vehicles, to have your own petrol station, probably. In as far as convenience is concerned. Probably not as much as profit, but convenience, it does work.
To make sure that you have your own fuel.
Yes, and they can fuel overnight without disturbance.
Not necessary for profits, because as you say, profit is very little.
Let's talk about subsidies now. And
so when we go back to the issue of subsidies, the only reason you find yourself giving subsidy is because you want to be seen, to be appreciating the plight of the common person. But let's be realistic. I said I'm a student of development studies. There's nowhere else that the government gets money other than in taxes. And so the only subsidy that would be feasible and agreeable is Kenyans agreeing, and the Kenyan government agreeing, that we are stopping this program that we have been running to fund this. Without that, anything else is a lie. Why? Government gets money from taxes. Giving subsidy is getting money from this pocket and putting it in this other pocket, but the same person. So they'll give us, say, a subsidy of this much money. But what will happen is that there's another program somewhere that we'll either have to borrow money for or make other contingencies, stop other programs. So for me, I have been an advocate that the only subsidy that is acceptable within the petroleum industry is the 5 shillings and 40 cents we call petroleum development levy that per litre that you consume, that had built up to about 17 billion. That is the only money that should be given as subsidy. The folly of giving that money, the 17 billion, all of it, is that we are not out of the woods. So the government gives 6 point something. Why? Because next month, the prices ought to be even higher. So if they apply all the 17 billion this month and remain probably even the prices do not change, what will happen is that there will be an astronomical rise next month and there will be nowhere to get
the
subsidy. So there's that moderation that we are taking this hit. Like I've told you, diesel was expected to go up by over 70 shillings. So a subsidy for me can only be acceptable if that money is raised within the industry. Genuine subsidy from the government today is government to reorganize its program and stop some programs so that they can take a haircut. Like they have taken the haircut of 8%.
Yes.
I was of the opinion for those 3 months, we could take a haircut of 16%.
16%, no VAT at all.
No VAT. Then where the government takes the money that they get from VAT, they close those programs for 3 months. Why? This is very, very important. I am a business person. It is in the interest of the country to make sure that in the times of adversity, businesses are running. Why? Because if the business is run down, it is harder to bring them back to life than it is for the government to reorganize its sources of revenue.
All right. Hold your thought there. We need to sample what's happening on the ground, and we go straight to Naivasha. Our reporter there, Willie Dennis Njiru, is on standby. Willie Dennis, a very good morning to you. On this issue of fuel prices, how are the motorists and commuters in Naivasha taking it, and what are the unique challenges there?
Good morning, Fred Indimuli. Actually, it's a bit of a scanty situation here in Naivasha. We are at the Bomet, Susua, Maimahiu, Kisii bus terminus here, and part of it, Moi South Lake Road, where we just have just a handful fleet of vehicles rendering their services this morning. And we are joined by part of a team here who render services here every day, and they will be telling us as to why we have this kind of situation here. Nonetheless, the issue about the skyrocketing fuel prices has been an impediment to many of the normal routine of the locals here. Without taking much time, nieleze jina lako. Kwanza tuanze, magari ni machache sana leo. Kwa sababu gani?
Sababu ya magari kwa majina anaitwa Samuel Ndogi, ambao mimi ndiye chairman hapa Naivasha wa madrivers. Magari ni machache sana juu gari nyingi zimelala juu ya kukosa mafuta. Na pia leo tunajua ya kwamba kulikuwa na mgomo ya watu wa matatu. Ndio sababu umetuma hakuna magari za matatu kusema ukweli. Sako yangu inakuanga na gari more than hapa Naivasha karibu gari 30, lakini leo tu ni gari 2 zimeenda. So kuna upungufu wa magari ni juu ya mafuta. So ile kitu ningeomba serikali iingilie mambo ya mafuta. Juzi tumeona wametuongezea 40 shillings kwa diesel kwa lita moja, lakini kuangusha wakaangusha shilingi 10. Na tukirudi miaka ile ya nyuma kidogo, wakati tulikuwa na former president Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, wakati mafuta ilipanda juu, walipiga kelele wakasema Uhuru anaongezea mafuta ovyo hiyo serikali ya Uhuru, lakini yale mambo walikuwa wanapiga siku ya Uhuru ndio wanafanya siku hii ya leo. Wakati Uhuru alisema kuna vita mahali fulani, wao walisema ni uongo. So tungewaambia waache kutuambia mambo ya Iraq, waache kutuambia mambo ya Iran, wapunguze bei ya mafuta irudi mahali inastahili, ili Wakenya waache kuumia.
Kuna wasafiri wengi ambao wamekwama hapa na hawakujua kwamba hali itakuwa hivi. Sasa itakuwaje? Bei za wale ambao wanamudu gharama ya kwenda imefika bei gani?
Saizi kama kamera tunalipishanga 80 shillings, saizi ni 150. Karakta mahali huwa tunalipisha 40 shillings, saizi ni 70 shillings. So tunaona wananchi ndio wanaumia. Yes.
Na wale wanaoenda Kisii, Tulele, Narok, Suswa, Bomet.
Wale wanaenda Kisii, Bomet leo. Kama unataka kwenda Kisii, hata ingawa hakuna magari, membi ufungilia 2,000 na huwa tunalipisha shilingi 1,000. Kitu kama hiyo.
Kufungilia?
Hawa na shilingi 2,000.
Na Narok hapa karibu?
Narok hapa karibu huwa tunalipisha shilingi 500, leo naona inaweza ingia 700, 800. Yes.
Kwa sababu gani tu itakuwa hivi?
Unajua sasa mtu ametoa gari yake na ni kuriski, ana riski kwa barabara. Anything can happen. So hata ikienda maybe ifunjwe kioo ama ifanye namna gani, akilipisha hiyo shilingi 800 hataenda kuingia mfuko. Yeah.
Na swala hili litaendelea hadi lini?
Ile siku tunajua ya kwamba tulikuwa tumesikia kuna mgomo siku ya leo na bado inaendelea. Ile mgomo baridi juu magari nyingi haziko, lakini hatujui kama kesho kutakuwa na mgomo, but today kuna mgomo. Yes.
Kabla sijampisha mwingine, kwa kawaida hapa magari labda ya Moi South Lake Road huwa kama kuna magari mangapi hivi?
Gari za Moi South Lake, hii barabara ya kwenda Maimahiu, Kamere na Karakta ni karibu gari 200 hivi. Yes.
Na leo ni magari ya kuhesabika?
Leo hata sijui kama zinaweza fika gari 50 ama 30. Yes.
Wacha tusikie kutoka kwa mwingine. Ndugu, jina lako na utueleze hali iko vipi? Wewe ni mhudumu hapa?
Mimi naitwa, kwa majina yangu naitwa Peter Geshero. Mimi ni mkaaji wa Naivasha. Mimi bado ni mwendeshaji bodaboda. Sisi tunafinyika na mafuta. Naomba serikali tu itupunguzie gharama ya mafuta juu napata sisi tunabebaga mtu kama a distance of 2 kilometers tunalipa 150. So mafuta ikiwa 200 unapata unaenda skodi 2 ya distance of 2 kilometers. Hiyo kwa hivyo lita moja inaenda skodi 2. Kwa hivyo unapata 100. Ukiweka lita moja uende mara 2 150 unarudisha mafuta ya 200 unabaki na 100. Kwa hivyo unafaa uende skodi mingi. Ukienda skodi ukipata 200 unakuwa unaweka mafuta ya 400. Ukienda skodi 3 upate 300 umeweka mafuta ya 600. So sisi tunaona hata hizi bodaboda zetu kusi-maintain inakuwa ni shida. Inabidi unaacha hadithi yako kwa nyumba, unaenda kutafuta kibarua kingine. Juu sasa miguu inaisha, service inaisha. Watoto wamekugojea nyumbani, umepata tu 300, umeenda distance of kilomita mingi ukitafuta hiyo 300. Sasa sisi tunaona serikali imeturudisha mahali iko imetuambia mambo na bottom up.
Sasa na mwisho wa kuisha itakuwa vipi?
Sasa sisi kama sisi hatuwezi kuongea baba ndio hata sisi tulishaweka dudhi zetu. Sisi tuzaziweka. Sasa 300 na familia na kugojea, unabidi unaiacha, unaenda kutafuta kibarua kingine kani ya mjei.
Asante, wacha tusikie kutoka kwa mwingine hapa. Ndugu, karibia, nieleze jina lako.
Mimi ni Amani Chris. Yenyewe hii mafuta imepandisha vitu kabisa. Hata saa hii mimi naongelea kwanza kuhusu attention. Saa hii unaenda kwa supermarket, kama mimi saa hii niko na mgonjwa hosi, natafuta kitu kwa supermarket, wananiambia eti wamefunga, eti wanaona kama kuna wasiwasi. Yenyewe hii maisha haiko sawa kabisa.
Unapendekeza kitu gani?
Wabadilishe, hata kama ni kupunguza, wasifanye siasa mingi, wabadilishe zile mambo walikuwa wanatuambia sisi machinga, sisi bwana bodaboda, at least wabadilishe tusikie tuko sawa kabisa.
Nashukuru kwa muda wako. Fred, just to give you and to paint a picture on the situation, this is all a stage that is highly infested with matatus flying Moi South Lake Road, and part of it rendering service to my Mahio. And as you can see, is 1, 2, 3, 4, around 4 vehicles there. And as you heard there, they are taking risks to ferry people to my Mahio and Moi South Lake Road. Moi South Lake Road is one of the busiest roads around here, and with no services, that means a lot of services, a lot of work that goes on around Moi South Lake Road will be adversely affected. And as you can see here, this is the second vehicle that is about Kisii, Bomet, Narok and Tulele, and perhaps we are optimistic that things will restore against what they are lamenting about a high cost of fuel, and we'll be keeping an eye to see what is the next development from this. I take it back to you in the studios to continue with the morning discussion. Fred.
Thank you so much, Willie Dennis Njiro, our reporter on the ground in Naivasha, trying to sample some of the views of transport operators, especially matatu drivers and boda operators as well, on how this price hike crisis and what the same portends for the next few months has impacted the traveling in Naivasha. Bonathiongo, definitely something different there. There's the anticipation of the kind of unrest that could come with this, but also the kind of mathematics they're giving there. Do you agree with it?
So first of all, allow me to reiterate that we are party. The matatu industry is party to the process of today. We are not the party, and actually, in particular for travelers, there was a video which was curated from our bloggers that we are party to the protest. We are not party to the protest, neither do we support the protest. So we are not supporting the protest. We are appealing to the government to stop making exorbitant profit and to harmonize. There's no essence of having a lot of charges in fuel levy. There is a subsidy, there is something that we call standardizations. We just wanted to call upon the government to intervene and make sure that the fuel is having at least a reasonable price for the common mwananchi, because who is suffering is common mwananchi. Common mwananchi is compromising going for an essential service because of the charges of transport. And in the real sense, as much as they are reporting that they have hiked the transport from Naivasha to Narok and other part of the country, the reaction will be the number of the commuter you reduce or the traveler you reduce, because some of them will not have those money to travel. So in the real sense, at the end of the day, they will not make money, because we always need those people to travel so that you can make money. Some of them will seek for other alternative. If someone was going for a business, he can opt to ask it as a person, so that he can be able to avoid such kind of charges. So what we are calling upon to be able to let Kenyans to enjoy transport service without hindrance, without conflict with the operators. Let Kenya's government intervene, and it have ability to intervene and make the fuel price to have a reasonable pricing. Right. That's all what we call upon.
And listening to both of you gentlemen, you seem to be having the feeling of helplessness when it comes to these discussions. How much are you involved in as far as discussing these things, probably with the NTSA or with EPRA, in as far as how the industry is working? Bonashomba, do you feel that, because we're in the era of public participation, that you are involved sufficiently in some of these discussions, such that at the end of the day you feel, yes, we were part of the around the table?
I would say that we are not. Like I told, let me give you a perspective. In this country, we have approximately, this is empirical data from EPRA, I think 2 years ago, about 6,200 fueling points in the country. 68% of those belong to the people you call independent. We call them non-franchised. The reason why you don't see them, today if you tell somebody about petroleum, they think of the big brands because they see, those are the ones they see on the highways and the byways. But I put it to you in the Muli, that the people who feed the rural economy in this country are guys who have a pump or two, and they are not franchised by the big players. And so these people do not have the leverage of importation of petroleum, but they move at the very least between 30 to 40% of all the petroleum sold in this country. Out of the 460 million, 30 to 40% is distributed by these guys. They are the ones who really drive the rural economy. When it comes to now, you see how important they are. But because they don't have the capacity and leverage to participate in the importation, they are not seen anywhere. They tell me every time that we have this argument that the fact that these people cannot organize themselves is not, the government ought not to be indicted, is akin to saying that ignorance is no defense. You know what we say. But I've always posed this question philosophically, that who should be indicted more? Is it an ignorant population or a government agency that is ignorant of the fact that they have an ignorant population? So I think the government ought to appreciate that we have informal economy that is running the rural economy. So when it comes to the decision-making table, I've always been arguing that we ought to have people drawn from the industry, people who have understood the industry, because in every industry today, there's somebody who is in potato industry, and the way they have been in the industry is that they started maybe as a makanga, as a driver, and today they own a matatu or two. So those people have a certain insight in the industry. Any academician will not understand. You'll come and do your research, but what you'll get is data given to you by people thinking, we're telling you what they think. But there's something else that this person understands who have grown. The same thing in the petroleum industry. There are those people who started and have been in this informal to an extent that they get to a place where they understand. Some of us, like for instance, I started selling petroleum in Kibera using ile mikebe. You know, Kibera gatuikira, uko shiranga, uko chini. Then I am at the place where I understand the importation. So there's a certain, I understand the value chain, so much so that whenever there's a clog up, I am able to tell you before the academic literature is given, already we understand. So there are people who are like me, and I usually say those people ought to sit at the ministry and at EPRA, so that when you're issuing a policy, this person is able to tell you, wait a minute, this policy is good on paper, but in application, there's a problem. Like now, I'm saying, what ought to happen right now is that the government needs to carve a certain allege of fuel. Allege is the fuel itself. A certain allege, maybe 20 million liters, and dictate that this fuel reach to those people. Because the minute this fuel reaches to those people, these are the issue we are talking about, shortage is gone. But now the government understands, is there enough petroleum in the country everybody say there is. But in terms of logistics and getting to those people, it is us who understand that the guy in the village does not have fuel.
Right.
And when he doesn't have fuel, the ripple effect is that in the towns will have a problem. So that for me, there's a level to which participation, and the problem is that we have institutionalized a system that views industry players or industry association and players with condescending attitudes. If you're working in the government offices and there's a gentleman there who maybe represent the matatu industry, the eyes with which you look at him are condescending in that watu kazi yao ni kupiga kelele. But this person is raising a very critical. He may not have the numbers. He may even say some things upside down, and sometimes he may not even appreciate the intrigues. But listen to the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that this person is communicating something.
From their own perspective.
Yes, listen to them, because everybody has their own perspective, including your child. My 9-year-old daughter will tell me long time ago when we drank tea, and he means morning. You see, to her, that is long time ago. To me, long time ago, probably 30 years. To somebody else, it is 70 years. And everybody is right in their perspective.
Yes. Bwana Thiongo, I know I asked you this earlier because while I was making the comparison with what's happening in Tanzania, and LATRA, which is the equivalent of the NTSA, has involved matatu operators, what they call daladala, and all these people in as far as making these decisions. Do you feel in Kenya that your perspective is taken into account by anyone? Or you're just there receiving what people have already decided on? And do you think that you being taken or having an opportunity to sit around the table would change any of these problems we're having right now?
Not at all. Actually, you have never been involved well in the making decisions, actually. And there's other issues, actually, beyond even the petroleum, because there is still other regulations that are coming up in the parliament about the circle, which will affect us greatly in futures. But it's very unfortunate, and I want to support that. As much as these regulations, demand and supply is what's most very important. If you can be given a free playing ground about our industry, about our investment, that's the most important and the key thing to drive the economy. And that's the reason whereby, Bwana Indimori, I'm still going back to the government issues with a cheap fuel. It does not matter, the marketers are G2G, the marketers are the private. What matters a lot, after the entry of the product, how much the government will have an interest on that product, being a basic commodity. The interest of the government is what the problem in our nations. The interest of the government, because there's no realistic, and actually I don't know where is the essence of having a lot of charges. I think the government should have only one charge like VAT. The government has a lot of charges. Now, the government or president wanted to praise us at a percentage from 13 to 8. But despite ametoa 13 to 8, these other charges that was not factored, which are very many, a lot of them. And the parliament need to sit down, and the executive have a power to request the government, because the executive have a very big say in regard to the taxations of Kenyans. And this being a basic commodity, drive economy at high rate. And the reason whereby we find that in Kenya, oil product, and I think Shoba will concur with me, we import 25%. 25% of our import is oil product. And being at 25% of oil product import in Kenya, we can be able to promote or reduce importations, and will make our Kenya strong against US dollar by making sure that we are not making profit from this basic commodity. We are not making profit from this basic commodity. And if we are making profit from these basic commodities, we are making a very minimal profit out of it. The problem at the backstop on the government. It is making an exorbitant profit.
Okay. And probably a question, do you think that probably if matatu operators or the public transport sector would receive favorable relief as opposed to private motorists, because a majority of Kenyans use public transport, do you think if at all there was a comparatively different tariff for public transport sector, that probably the discussion will be different, as opposed to private motorists, matatu waambiwe, nyinyi hamtanunua mafuta kwa eBay. Do you think that such a proposal would work?
Okay, it may not work because now where you get in is about the corruptions. Maybe you give an incentive to registered institutions whereby you'll be saying now this institution, 20K Sacco, this Ford Sacco, we shall be given an incentive at the end of the month according to the fuel that you have consumed. The problem here is you shall start corrupting now.
Yes.
The people will be going, fueling their vehicles. These are matatu. You go and trade that to, we siphon to a lorry or a private.
Okay,
it cannot work. That one cannot work. We need a free market. Demand and supply control the economy. And actually, I want to support whatever Shoba is saying about the demand and supply. The government of Kenya actually is failing us very greatly. Nilisikia last time that they allowed high sulfur oil to get into Kenya. And actually, it's very unfortunate because they understand that from the point of the shipping, from that side of importation, they need to have tested the oil. It's very unfortunate that the EPR are reporting that oil have bleached at Mombasa, and you have found that it have a high sulfur content. I think they used to measure with 50 ppm. Currently, the current standard that East Africa community have agreed upon. On a diesel, I think in 50 ppm, and super is 10 ppm. Part per millions, the sulfur content that's required to be in diesel. And the Kenya's government will state that at diesel imeingia kwa Mombasa ikiwa na sulfur mingi, wacha ingie changanya na ingine. Do you know how much it costs us? And that is an economy of our Kenya. It will cost us, if you can be able to take like 60,000 vehicles. I'm talking about PSV now. You multiply with those vehicles being repaired, nozzles, we call it nozzles, the fuel system, it costs us something to do with 250,000 to repair that one. If you multiply the number of the vehicles times the loss that it can incur because of that corrosions, it will cost this country more than 15 billion. Wow. Only in the matatu industry. And we still have trucks, we still have lorries, we still have personal vehicles. So it will continue making damages. It will continue increasing importation of the country. Because, my dear, as much as you are saying about repair of those vehicles, we still import those things because we don't make vehicle in Kenya. We don't make spare part in Kenya. So this government negligence continue affecting its own economy because not being sensitive to.
And now as you make your final comments, yes. Because I can, listening to you, you're calling for more liberalization of the market, lesser regulations by governments, lesser government in this business of importation and distribution. Yet we see more government regulation working best in Tanzania. Why is Kenya so different? Why are we so liberal? Why do we feel that a more liberalized petroleum market would be best for us? As you make your final comment.
My final comment is that in more liberalized economies develop faster. Competition is what drives growth. And you see the reason why capitalist systems in the world, any country that aligned itself with capitalistic market tendencies, grew beyond the communist states because there was no incentive in the communist states for private property, so that growth was stifled. And so it is in the same breath that I advocate for more liberalized. Having said that, I appreciate that the government must be in the petroleum industry. But to what extent? Because petroleum is actually the blood that runs the body we call the economy. The government must be there to ensure that there's always a petroleum in the country, because today in the Muli, if we have no ship docking at Mombasa, we will not last more than 21 days with the fuel that is usually in the pipeline. Why? Because Petroleum Act of 2019 dictates that we have petroleum oil strategic oil reserves, but we have not actualized that. Up until that time, the government must be in the industry. But how should they be in the industry? Strengthen National Oil Corporation, bring in product from all over the place, cheap products, and when they start selling that cheap product, they'll force everybody else to go down, other than just saying this is the cap price, and because what we have, the arrangements that we have, is that people, the successive regimes, I don't want to blame this on this Kenya Kwanza regime, because this was instituted way back. The founders of the country envisaged a big, humongous national oil corporation that should manage the movement and the sale of petroleum in the country. Then it was watered down by successive regimes, and so I just blame this to the lazy people who came before the regimes that we have today. We must go back to a place where we nationalize National Oil Corporation, make it the behemoth of an industry player, so that everybody else that plays within the market will be at the masses of the National Oil Corporation. 30% importation is enough to take care of emergencies in case there is no fuel in the country. And so National Oil have one singular duty to make sure that is consistent with what every other developed economy. There is no developed economy that does not have a national infrastructure in petroleum that makes sure that they run and control. It is actually not the work of the ministry to do all those things. And when everything else now is left to the market forces, it becomes easier, and nobody will be complaining the way we are complaining. The reason why today we say the government has increased prices is because EPRA announces the prices. But if the prices were increasing without the government having to announce, then it will be possible. You see, today nobody says that the price of sukuma wiki has gone up.
The government is not
because the government is not involved. The price of potatoes, then nobody says that imepanda juu.
Yet it goes up and comes.
Yeah, it goes every day is going up and coming down. But nobody, even the prices of vehicles that we buy from Japan, today nobody is up in arms saying that the prices have really gone up. But if the government was today, every month announcing that the prices of imported motor vehicle will be this, we would be saying the government has, and then they expose themselves to blame game and distort the market.
Right. Final word, Barathiongo. You also agree that the government should remove its hands from this oil business, at least to a huge extent.
So I want to reiterate that the government is exposing itself to the blame. The government categorically 100% is to blame, because it is on the record that in every liter of a super or diesel consumed, it takes 8 shillings. Why should the government take a lot of the money from the basic commodity? How the economy will run with such kind of exorbitant profit from the basic commodity? We presume and we call upon the government to stop taking those charges, and because it will never matter whether it will be supply and demand. Supply will dictate. The fact remains that if the government will continue charging those huge taxation and an exorbitant income from oil product, the oil product will remain high.
All right.
So we call upon the government to consider this basic commodity and reduce the taxation on it.
As it is right now, the prices of petrol and diesel are the highest in Kenya in this region. There's a narrow gap between us and Uganda, where petrol is retailing at 184 to about 188, which is below 197 Kenyan price. Diesel in Uganda is 174 per litre. In Tanzania, petrol at 189, same price for diesel. Kenya, at least 10 shillings more. And that is after government intervention. Yeah. Remember, with the subsidy, 6.2 billion shillings, as well as the reduction in VAT. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is part of our discussion this morning. Asante sana Martin Shomba, who's a chairperson, Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya, POAC, and Paul Thiongo, chairman, Forward Travelers SACCO, representing Matatu and the public transport operators. The fuel prices debate continues. It has reached a level where people are calling for protests that could happen today. We're just trying to watch what you saw in Naivasha, Matatu staying away from the roads in anticipation of the same. Politicians have also called for protests next week, and some of them in June. Late to Jijo too. But the fuel price debate does continue. After the break, we switch gears and talk matters business, and later on I'll be back to discuss matters technology. You're watching TV47 Breakfast. Good morning.